Number 1. Blackpink. Recently, a thread on Pan titled, "The Moment I Realized How Long Blackpink Was on Hiatus," has gone viral, and according to netizens, if YG keeps pushing back the girls' comeback while the group contract is clocking its expiration, Blackpink's going irrelevant is just a matter of time. While that may sound like an exaggeration, some had done the math to prove that assuming Blackpink would come back in March, which was the best scenario since the real-life situation could be way worse, the group's hiatus still would reach the mark of 1 year 6 months, exactly equal to the time male idols must set aside for military service. For those who weren't too into math and still couldn't imagine how long their hiatus has been, a netizen had pointed out that their latest promotion, Lovesick Girl, was 1 month before aespa's debut. Just within that amount of time, aespa has turned from one of the most questionable girl groups into the leading act of Gen 4 and reaped various unprecedented achievements. However, with all the mathematic and comparative illustrations, people could still hardly feel the length of Blackpink's hiatus better than Blink's because, on social media, fans themselves have created the new concepts, teasers, and photo books as they've been so hungry for their idols' comeback. Some have even gone extra miles, creating new songs based on Blackpink's old tracks and new songs with Blackpink's vibe to hang on to the belief that Blackpink was still active. Besides, there is another reason making netizens believe that Blackpink would soon go out of style. Instead of pushing the group as a whole like before, fans pointed out that the company has recently been promoting the girls individually in various fields. From solo songs, models, fashion, to flying certain members to the most flamboyant parties in Hollywood to increase their individual branding value. The predictions of netizens are also seemingly fulfilling, because most recently, when the famous Newsone South Korean outlet held a vote for the most anticipated artist in 2022, Blackpink only received 1 vote, which was equal to many less influential groups like Purple Kiss, KARD, and Future Boys. There was even an article flagrantly titled "Blackpink was surpassed by IVE," whose votes landed with 11, aespa and BTS with 10, and IU, a 14-year artist, with 6 votes. So was Blackpink to blame for the fact that the group is probably going irrelevant soon? Of course not, and not at all. Rather, it was the strategy of YG Entertainment that gradually pushed the girls off the cliff. Even when many people ask K-pop fans to stop blaming the management companies for everything, it's still hard to deny how YG played a big role in the potential breaking of Blackpink. While the group has been in the industry for 6 years, anyone could easily list out all of the songs they've ever released, which is actually almost impossible for other groups, because the number of tracks they produced was way bigger. Plus, since other groups like Treasure, aka the group that received the greatest debut budget in the history of YG Entertainment, and Winner, the group that people used to never doubt they couldn't be as big as Big Bang, also bore the same fate with Blackpink, it was totally justified to see how the company is in charge of the worst to come. Number 2. Twice. Besides Blackpink, many netizens also believe the prime time of Twice is about to end. Earlier this year, a person who also claimed to be an ex once posted a long thread explaining her thoughts as to why Twice's career would go downhill very soon. The first reason she mentioned came down to the fact that Twice made so many comebacks within a year, but under the management of JYP Entertainment in later years, the group failed for both releasing so many repetitive cutesy title songs and changing up their direction so abruptly. By that, it means instead of bringing to the table something new each time, the OP believed they opted for almost recycling title songs under the same bubbly concept. While this could be a good strategic move to consolidate the signature theme of the group, the fact that JYP never bothered to make a tweak or incorporate new elements turned this into a bad thing that made people grow out of Twice for boredom. Then, when the pressure became heavier as the public taste of girl crush concept grew, JYP devised a way worse strategy by all of a sudden switching up the girls' concept from bright to dark. Another aspect of JYP Entertainment's management strategy that made Twice walk on thin ice for the past time was said to be their shift on investment to ITZY, which was also the thing that happened to Miss A before. As a person on Quora, who claimed to still be a huge once pointed out, though JYP wasn't blatantly ignoring the old for the new like other big companies, they still shared several things in common, and she had started to see some signs of Twice's being ignored since around 2020. Because ITZY has become way more in style with the current public taste, she believed JYP's investment in Twice has been dwindling. And just like the way Miss A was left to fend for themselves the moment Twice surpassed them, which was around 2016 forward, she saw no reasons Twice could avoid that same fate of their seniors. Then came the second reason. According to some people, Twice's vocal capabilities were kinda questionable. And considering how many rookies are racing the bar of live singing, being unable to sing live was a huge minus point, making people grow out of Twice. In retrospect, there were countless times the group became hot topics just for being oddly shaky while singing. The criticism has become so big that every time the group came back, the members would become extremely anxious. Probably until now, there were almost no encore stages of them that didn't end up with strict scrutiny and harsh criticism. However, fans believe the reasons Twice is poorly rated for their singing capabilities are also a huge responsibility of JYP Entertainment for not giving them enough vocal training, and especially for forcing them to sing the tracks that were out of their range. Instead of making songs for the group to shine, the company just forced on them some songs based on a formula of success. A formula composed of many uneasy notes and chords that are almost impossible to hit right when going hand in hand with Twice's hardcore choreography. For example, with tracks like Heart Shaker and Knock Knock, the public criticism about Twice wasn't so harsh, but ever since Likey, Dance the Night Away, Fancy, and I Can't Stop Me, even Nayeon and Jihyo sometimes had difficulties in hitting their notes, let alone other members. The third reason came down to the members' personal lives, though these should have never been the element counted into their successes. However, the lives of K-pop idols are becoming increasingly scrutinized and analyzed, factoring into their popularity. As pointed out by a person on Quora, with multiple dating scandals, with the earliest one of Jihyo, Momo, and most recent being Chaeyoung, it makes sense that their reputation might have been impacted a little. Then, two members of Twice, Mina and Jungyeon, were also on a long hiatus for mental health, which was also a topic kind of touchy in South Korea, so it's nothing much of a surprise to see their influences took another hit for that. The most obvious proof for their dwindling reputation was that with a promotion scientist, Twice's digital performances were off. After 24 hours, Scientist was still seen at the very bottom of most domestic music charts. Except for the second rank on Bugs, the song only ranked 31st on iChart, 66th on Melon, and worst, 88th on Genie. Later on, Scientist took an even deeper nosedive to 144th on Genie's Daily, and 95th on Melon chart. As reported by Kstat, these signs proved that not only the public, but even many onces were discontent with the comeback. Usually, when a song received poor reaction from netizens, many other big groups would still have their fans to support through music streaming. However, it's not like that in Twice's case. Number 3. Red Velvet. Unfortunately, Red Velvet is also here. And this makes the list all about the Gen 3 girl groups of Big 3. While there aren't as many reasons making people believe Red Velvet will go irrelevant as Blackpink and Twice, this prediction remains there mainly because of two reasons. Firstly, as SM Entertainment is kinda notorious for their new one in, old one out practice, the fact that aespa has been going strong as the leading act of Gen 4 and making tons of money makes people believe Red Velvet will soon be left to fend for themselves. Just like what SM did to FX when Red Velvet debuted, the company will very likely invest least in Red Velvet when aespa has come. Secondly, as the members have been focusing on their individual careers, where Joy, Irene, and Yeri are devoted to acting and Sulky and Wendy are spending more time on their solos, it will probably be very long until the next big comeback of the group. However, as more and more Gen 4 rookies are stirring the atmosphere, and even those coming from medium and small companies could garner fair attention, like IVE and Heike, this long break of Red Velvet very likely takes a hit on them. And if that is the case, it's hard for people to not believe Red Velvet's going irrelevant soon is an exaggeration. So, do you think these assumptions are going to apply? Or are people just being too pessimistic? Comment down below to share your thoughts with us. Lastly, remember to like, share, and subscribe to BeBoss TV because we'll be back with more interesting K-pop content. Thank you for watching.